joining us. Today on the call, we have myself. I'm Trevor Kluth, the marketing manager for Jonas Club Software. And joining me, I have Andrew Miller, who is one of our account managers. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing good. How are you, Trev?
Good, thanks. It's been a busy morning, but I'm happy that we get together and do this webinar on member surveys in 2023. Now, before we jump into it, I just want to go over some housekeeping. Everyone is on mute for the duration of today's session. We've got a lot of people joining, so we just want to make sure that we hold all our questions to the end. And if you do have a question, you can submit those throughout the webinar in the GoToWebinar chat or questions section, and we'll be monitoring that as we go along. And we will be taking a look at some reasons why member surveys in 2023 are really crucial to your club business. And then Andrew's going to take us through some of the key features that MemberInsight has that really make surveying your membership easy, automated, and able to actually take action on that member feedback. So at the end, if we have some time, which I think we will, we'll be able to address any questions that come up throughout the session. And first, just before we get into it, I just wanted to kind of take everybody through an overview of Jonas Club Software, because I think oftentimes we meet our clients and they're really knowledgeable about the part of Jonas Club Software that they use, but they might not be aware of many of the other things that are a part of our company. We're actually consisted of about 13 brands now, and they can be broken up into 3 different sections or groups. In green, blue here, you'll have our back office software, which many of you are probably already using, Jonas Club Management, maybe Jonas Encore, or you have experience with Club Systems Group. And then in our red section here, we have our website brands. This consists of Clubhouse Online and our Clubhouse Online mobile app, as well as we have our green section here, which are kind of our value-added software systems. And one of those, which is our focus for today, is MemberInsight. Now, if you take all of these different companies, they add up to about 250 employees, and we're mostly located in North America. We do have a few offices over in the UK as well. And we really believe at Jonas that the club is one big organization that's made up of multiple businesses within it. And it's our goal to make sure that we have applications and software that can be used to meet any of the needs of these different businesses within the club. And we also like to think that, integration is one of the most important things, because if you're maybe working in the golf pro shop and you're addressing a member's needs there, that should be able to filter over to possibly the point of sale in the dining venue, or maybe if it needs to be addressed by the back office accounting, that's going to be accessible to everyone. So it's one system that can be used in multiple places throughout the club and hopefully address the needs of members and staff. So jumping into our topic for today, member surveys in 2023, I'm just going to start by sending out a poll to everybody on the line today. So you should see a poll jump up on your GoToWebinar screen, and I'll give you guys about 15 seconds to answer this question. Did you send a survey to your membership in 2022 asking your members how satisfied they were with their club experience? All right, the answers are coming in. I'll give you 5 more seconds. All right, quite interesting actually. It started off really strong. We had a lot of 100%. Everybody had sent out a survey, but by the end of the poll, we had about 58% said yes, we sent a survey, and 42% said no, we didn't. So why does this matter? Well, we believe that member intelligence is really important to finding out how healthy your club membership is, and surveying your members is one piece of that puzzle. The member intelligence that we kind of talk about is broken into 3 categories. It's the opinion of your members, and that's where our surveys come in. It's the spending habits of your members. Are they, using their discretionary spending? Are they using their full monthly minimums? Are they coming into the club and spending that money at the pro shop? And then also your members' utilization of their club. Are they booking tea times? Are they attending classes? Are they using the fitness facilities? These three make up the trinity of member intelligence. And two of those things you can get by analyzing the data within your system. And we've talked on last week's webinar about a system called Metrics First, which helps you extrapolate some of that data. But most of that utilization and spending data is in your member file. You can go and look at how your members are using the club, how much they're spending by pulling reports. But today we're going to focus on getting the actual member's opinion to find out if they're a healthy member and whether or not they're probably going to stay a member for the future. And I just want to kind of tell you a story to illustrate this point. So if I told you about a friend who joined a private club who happened to play golf at your club 3 times a week, maybe he was on the range every couple days, so he's probably coming to the club 5 times a week, and he liked to eat at the club during men's night, so he's spending money on food and bev. He might bring his wife or partner out to the club for a nice meal on the weekends. Based on that kind of spending and utilization profile, playing, using the practice facilities, participating in weekly events, and spending money on food and bev, did that person return for the next season at the club? Based on the utilization, I would lean towards yes, but in truth, they didn't. So this friend of mine, he was never asked about his experience by club management. He noticed after a couple of months at the club that most of the demographic was a bit older than the kind of players that he was hoping to play golf with. And he also had a struggle finding people to play with in the evenings, which is when he wanted to play after work. He was still working full time. And he had a few poor service experiences that were never really addressed by club management. And he never really felt like there was much chance to facilitate friendships or connect with other members of the club outside of the events that he played in. Now, this is unique. This might not be everyone. And this was also pre-pandemic. So I think I've spoken to him recently and he said he wished he would have stayed based on how kind of golf has gone and it's so hard to find tee times these days. But that said, I want to ask you guys all another question. So I'm going to throw up another poll, and that is, if you did send your membership satisfaction survey last year, did you contact or follow up with the members who answered that they were dissatisfied? So I'll give you guys another 10 seconds to answer that. All right, well, this is pretty good. I'm going to close off the poll now in 5, 2, 1. Great. So earlier we saw about 60% of you had actually surveyed your members. And now we see that of those 60% that surveyed, 80% followed up directly with members if they were dissatisfied, which is great news. Why that's so important is because we believe that closing the loop on member feedback when you're sending out surveys is really, really crucial to the process. And that's for a few different reasons. One of the most important is that you're going to give the member a feeling of value if you've taken action on their survey response. Otherwise, you've sent out survey, maybe you've done something based on their feedback, but if they don't hear about it, then they don't know that their feedback has been heard. It also really helps survey fatigue. So this is a kind of term that's used in the customer experience space, where if you send out surveys to people, they answer and they don't hear anything back from them, they're more likely to not answer surveys in the future. And if you take action on what the survey response was, and you follow up with that member to tell them, hey, we got your feedback, we really appreciate it, we're going to do this, this, and this to hopefully make it better in the future, they're more likely to answer a survey down the road. What's really great is that MemberInsight, as we'll see when Andrew jumps in, it makes it quite easy to follow this closed loop process. The other thing is surveys are kind of multifaceted, and earlier I asked us about the satisfaction survey, but our friends at GGA Partners really believe that a member feedback program is kind of three-tiered, and it really helps members or club managers make informed decisions. And the best practice is to have kind of these three levels of long-term planning with surveys that help you address strategic planning and capital planning. And then there's going to be this periodic trending survey level, which is more about the satisfaction surveys, which I asked about, as well as employee surveys. Another thing that a MemberInsight can do, which is really useful, is actually, surveying your employees, really great retention tool. And then lastly, real-time feedback. And this is where MemberInsight really shines, being able to automate sending out a survey based on a point of sale transaction, so that if somebody has just visited the club, you can get them really right after their service experience to give feedback. And there's also some cool additional ways that you can survey your membership, which we'll touch after Andrew goes through MemberInsight. So now I'm going to hand it over to Andrew, and he's going to show you some of the really cool features that MemberInsight has added, as well as some of the great ways that it can be used in this closed loop automation process. So Andrew, I'm just going to share control with you.
All right. All right, can you see MemberInsight there?
We can definitely see your screen now. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. So this would be the main dashboard that you see when you log into MemberInsight. But before we jump in, just want to touch on one thing really quick. Number one question that we always get is what separates MemberInsight from SurveyMonkey or maybe any other free survey systems? And that's always going to be the integration back into Jonas, into your POS, into your membership profiles with your employees, all of that stuff, and the automated surveys that Trevor kind of touched on with being able to send off based on POS transactions. But jumping into here now, we'll touch on a couple things. Up at the top here, you can always filter your survey results based on certain time periods. Here's your static ones that you can choose from on the left, and then you can pick custom date ranges as well if you want to look at specific time periods of survey results. Over here on the right-hand side, you can go ahead and choose by each department as well. So if you want to see specifically how's the restaurant doing, how's our hotel portion of the club doing, the golf course, golf shop, your different departments you can have in there and get survey results specifically by department. Now, for those that are not familiar with NPS score, it stands for Net Promoter Score. And there's three ways that it scores by. It goes, an example of an NPS score would be based on your experience in the dining room tonight, would you recommend, dining here to other members at the club? You can customize those questions to what you would like, but that would be an example of an NPS question, and then you would rate that on a score of 1 to 10. Scores of 1 through 6 is what we call detractors. Those are scores that can hurt your NPS score. 7s and 8s are neutral scores. They don't do anything to the score at all. And then what you're really looking for are scores of 9 and 10. Those are promoters. That's what's going to increase your NPS score. Now, NPS scores can go anywhere from -100 being the worst and 100 being the best. Bigger companies like Apple, Amazon, Google, who use NPS score as just a way of measuring their customer service and where they stack up against the industry. And how we bring that to you guys is on the right here, you'll see this benchmark number. You can filter this by all different countries, regions, membership types, sizes, all that. And over here is actually a live number of all Jonas clubs that are on MemberInsight. So you can see how you compare it to other clubs within your space or within your club area and see how you're doing compared to them. So now within here, there's 4 different types of surveys. You're only able to see 3 of them right here. The first one is our relational survey. Those are going to be surveys along the lines of, hey, when a new member joins, we want to survey them their first 30 days at the club, and then 90 days, maybe 6 months and a year. Those are going to be automated surveys that are scheduled to go out when you sign up a new member and build their membership profile. So you can get real life feedback from that member as they progress through their first year of membership. The second portion is going to be our department surveys. Now, those are going to be what Trevor mentioned, our POS transaction surveys. These are automated based on POS transactions. So you can set up limits on these as well. So if you only want someone to get a survey once every month or once every 3 months, we can put those restrictions on them so they only receive that survey once every 3 months. You can put spending limits as well. So if someone needs to spend $100 in order to qualify for receiving a survey, we can do that through there as well. You don't want it, hey, I came in at the turn, bought a Gatorade and a hot dog. Probably not someone you want to survey every time they come through, but you can set up limits on exactly how often they qualify to receive a survey. Now, our next one is going to be our custom surveys. Those are going to be custom surveys based off of if you have different events at the club. If you have member guest events at the club and you want to survey guests, you can go ahead and upload the guest contact information into there, and you can get customized survey results through here based on your guests. And then the last piece that you're not seeing on here is our static surveys. Those are going to be the quickest, most instantaneous feedback you're going to get. And there's a couple ways that we can set those up. First would be we can set up just a comment box on your mobile app or within your website, so members can go in right after and leave a comment based on their experience. And what we're also seeing clubs doing is they're bringing tablets within the dining areas and also within the pro shop as well. They'll leave a tablet on a pro shop within the stand, come in, leave their experience on the round of golf. Did they like the greens, the course? Was there any areas of concern out there? And then also within the dining room, they'll be able to drop off a tablet at the dining table after they're done dining and be able to get instant feedback from members that way based on how their meal was. Jumping into here, you'll see this star performers area right here. And what this is going to do is it's going to keep track of your employees and their interactions with members. So when members do leave a response and they include an employee's name, it's going to keep track of their loyalty shift. How are you affecting the NPS number? It's going to keep track of who's making the biggest positive impact on your NPS number, and you'll be able to see which employees are doing that. What we're seeing clubs doing is they're actually using this as a reward-based system for employees. So for example, Lorraine here, we've got this set for our last 30 days, had the biggest impact on our NPS score. We're going to go ahead and give her, a $25, a $50 Starbucks gift card. Thank you for your efforts and bringing great service to our members. Jumping into our next portion here, we'll go into our activity tabs, and there's a couple places that we're going to touch on here. First is going to be our to-do list. And following up on the poll that Trevor gave out, this is going to promote you to follow up on direct surveys for people that may have left a bad response or a bad score. And it's automatically going to prompt into our to-do list. So we'll see all of our to-do lists. You'll get a notification when someone does leave a poor score or a poor response. You can set it up where you automatically get it no matter what their score is left or only their bad scores. Completely up to the club and how they want to handle that. So this is where the integration comes in. You'll be able to see this member's demographics are automatically pulled into here from their member file within Jonas. You'll see their different contact informations as far as a phone number will be in here. And you can leave any notes that you've had with that member during the phone call. If you speak with them face-to-face, you can leave notes in there as well. And it's also going to integrate with their email as well, so you can send emails directly back and forth within MemberInsight. A couple different things to touch on here. This history tab up within the member. If we click on that, there's actually a small CRM system within MemberInsight. And what this is going to do is it's going to keep track of all your messages sent, all different scores that they've left for different surveys that they've responded to, and any messages that you've sent or notes that you've left in the system for you or other employees. What we can also do is we can give different login to different areas of the club. So for example, your food and beverage manager, we can give him a login and restrict his access to food and beverage areas and responses only. And as the main administrator, we'll have the opportunity within these surveys to drop down, and we'll have all of our different employees within here that have access to the MemberInsight and are allowed to respond to surveys. So for example, we'll say Andrew Lee is our food and beverage manager. We want to assign this response to him. So if we click on Andrew Lee, that response is now going to get sent to him for follow-up with the member. Next part we'll touch on within here is going to be our responses. And this is where we can really start to drill down on different segments and areas of the club and see how we're doing service-wise and the type of responses that we're getting. So up top, we can see our last 30 days. We've got all departments in here. We can see our NPS score within the last 30 days. We can see a percentage-wise how many scores we've gotten of each one. So you can see there's quite a bit of responses to go through here. And we can dig through them that way if you'd like. It's a lot, but we can also filter by different segments of the club. So for example, if we want to look at, okay, all of our corporate members, it'll break down that way. We're down to 87. We also want to see active members. You can also survey members that have left the club too. And as we move down, let's say we want to survey female members between the ages of 35 and 44. Again, these different ages will be loaded into MemberInsight based on what you have set up within Jonas for your club. So now we come up, okay, we've got 10 responses in the last 30 days for this specific segment of the club. We can come down and say, okay, Victoria, overpriced. Roxanne loves the atmosphere, wants to keep coming back. On and on, we can drill through that and see the exact segments of the club. It'll give you your NPS score as well for that specific time period. Now to actually build a custom survey, we could go in here and this is where we would build our questionnaires. So you'll see we've got all of our surveys saved within here that we want to send out on a regular basis, or that are repeat surveys that maybe you send out once or twice a year. You want to keep them, make your additions. If we jump into a questionnaire real quick, this is where we can actually build the survey itself. We can name the questionnaire to whatever we'd like it to be. So if we wanted to do our 4th of July picnic, we could title that for our use. And then the title for the members is what we would insert here. Something along those lines, an introduction text, thank you for taking the survey today. Please complete the questions. And then when we come to the add content button here, we can add in images if we'd like, up into, from the event, if we want people to see what's going on, or just images of the club. And we can also add our questions in here as well. Different question types that we have multiple questions in here that you can choose from and build out. So if we wanted to do something along, choice, go along those lines, and we could name our question and then from here is where we can start to add our options. And if that's what we'd like, we can enter that, click done, and that survey and that question will now populate within there, and then we can assign that to who's going to receive that survey. So we'll just go ahead and save that as ready. Close that. And here's our survey that we built out real quick. And then if we went to our surveys, this is where we could, surveys, yep, there we go. Go to our custom surveys, and then we'll add that survey. This is where we're just linking the survey with who's going to receive that survey. So we'll name our survey up top here, our survey design. These are automatically going to be put in during implementation. You get to decide what picture's automatically at the top. If you do want to change that picture, we can just go to set on this page, and that will go ahead and you can choose your pictures to put at the top there. If you do want to put in an NPS question, you can do that as well. And then this is where you just attach your question set. Here's our 4th of July picnic that we made. And then as we come down, our audience, if we do want to upload a CSV file from a guest event, we could go ahead and put in, that list. It's automatically going to populate within here. Or we have our different filters that we can come in, and we can just choose different areas of the club. We have our different statuses, categories that we can choose from. Or if we have an existing segment that we've built, we can choose that and attach the survey to there as well. Internet's giving out on me. Alrighty, we'll jump back into our settings here, and I'll show you where you can actually build your tag groups for each area of the club. So within our group settings, you can go ahead and set up your different areas of the club that you would like to survey and specific tag words that are specific. And then response tags, we can go ahead and put those tags into each group. So let's say for, we'll say bad, if that's something we just want to put in with staff and service. Anything that's associated with bad will jump in with staff and service there. So that's the area where we can make our tag groups and tag words that go into that group. And then last piece we'll touch on will just be our insights. And this is where we can get our NPS score breakdowns, how many sends that we're sending out, response percentages that we get, and then custom surveys where we can export those and build charts and graphs as well. So Trevor, that's all I've got to touch on here today. I'll give it back to you.
No, that's great. We had talked earlier about the static surveys in the Pro Shop, and one really cool idea that I'd heard come from one of our clubs out on the West Coast, Capilano, was, I'm just going to share my screen here. They're doing this really cool thing on their golf carts where they've created a static survey, and they've also created a QR code and put it on a sticker and then put it into all of their golf carts. So if you're out on the golf course, you can scan this QR code with your phone, which will take you to a survey asking you basic questions, maybe 2 or 3 questions about the conditions. How are the greens? How are the fairways today? Maybe did you notice anything that needs to be addressed, down tree limbs, etc., like that. So when you think about surveys, there's creative ways that you can go beyond just, sending one out via email or putting something on a tablet and then handing it to somebody in the Pro Shop. With MemberInsight, like I said before, surveying your staff is also a really powerful thing that can be used within this system. See if your staff are giving you a good NPS score is somewhere that they might recommend other people to work. And I wanted to ask you, Andrew, if you've been dealing with, I think we have over 200 clubs now using MemberInsight. Are there any other kind of creative ideas that you've heard out there that you wanted to share?
Well, I have seen the QR codes being put on in there at the bar whenever they sit down, just to leave that instant feedback. I think dining is the main area that clubs are looking to get feedback on, the service and food. So the QR codes is probably the more creative thing that we've seen so far.
Yeah, and that kind of really picked up, I'd say, 2021. QR codes are kind of they seem to be like going out of style, but they just came back with a vengeance. We do have a bunch of questions that have started to come in, which is great. So I throw these over to you. If a member enters an incorrect score due to maybe lack of computer knowledge or their finger slipped or something, can that be adjusted, deleted, or anything like that in the back end?
Yeah, you can adjust the score in the back end, but it's also going to, before they submit the survey, but let's say they accidentally click on a bad score, it's going to say, are you sure that you want to submit this score? And they'll have the option to say yes or no as well. So they do have a small grace period where they can adjust their score before submitting it.
That makes sense. Yeah. And you wouldn't want to just, not be able to correct anything if it was a mistake. Can the same word be used in a tag, but associated to different groups that you've created?
Yeah, yes, they can. You can put multiple words within different groups.
Cool. What would be a really good use case for tags? Like, what would be some of the reasons that you'd want the system to pick up on a person's feedback and pick out tags?
Sure. So especially when it comes to like on the service end. So let's, for example, we'll use for valet or even for dining. They had a bad experience for it was slow, food was cold. So maybe, within food, you put in cold, slow, all that good kind of stuff. That way you're getting specific words that have to deal with specific areas and dining areas within the club.
Yeah, that makes sense. If you're getting the same kind of repeat complaints and you're tagging those, you're going to start to see that trend, right? So if certain words are showing up often, it's just easier than having to filter through it yourself. Those will get pulled automatically by the system. Again, because there's so many different surveys that you can send out, you want to make it as automated and easy to analyze the data as you can. Let me just take a look here. So how does each survey come with a shareable link? And I think that question is kind of, well, it depends on what kind of survey it is.
Yes, with the custom surveys, they do come with a shareable link. When it comes to like a POS transactional survey, that's going to go specifically to whoever made that POS purchase or transaction.
And the last question we have is, do we provide a list of sample questions that the survey can be based on? Do we have any kind of templates that we can provide, or how does someone kind of get started from scratch?
Sure. So when you move forward, implementation is
your audio just kind of cut out on us there. Sorry.
How about now? Does that sound a little better?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so during implementation, they've already got a list, a bunch of set questions that all clubs that are on MemberInsight use now, recommended questions, different setups and all that different stuff. So implementation is going to make sure that you're fully trained, you've got everything that you want, it's set up the way that you want it before you actually go live and you start sending out surveys to members.
That's great. So just to repeat for Shirley regarding the link to each survey. So the answer, I believe, was yes. If you're making a custom survey or one of the static surveys, you can use a link to send that to someone either via email or, like we used the example of the QR code. So just the surveys that are being sent out via point of sale interactions would not have a shareable link.
Yep.
All right. I think that brings us to the end. Again, apologies for the mishap at the start, and we're happy that we're able to actually have this webinar take place. Just wanted to put up our contact information here in case you had additional questions that maybe you'd like to see Andrew possibly demo for you in person, or if you just wanted to reach out about any type of pricing or how this works with Jonas Club software through integration. And other than that, this will be recorded. So if you wanted to share it with anyone else at your club, we will be sending out a link to this webinar recording, hopefully in the next 24 hours. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you on future webinars. Just so you're aware, we will be having another webinar next week that is going to cover the new Clubhouse online mobile app, which just launched earlier this year, which is a really beautiful update. And members are really going to appreciate this new member mobile app. So thanks everybody for joining us, and I hope you have a great Thursday.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.